Everyone praised me for being mature. No one realized I was just a child doing adult work. Growing up early didn't make me strong. It made me tired for life. This story is for the children who were never allowed to be children. People love a mature child. They really do. A child who doesn't complain. A child who doesn't ask for much. A child who understands things they were never supposed to understand. A child who knows when to stay quiet, when to step back, when not to make things harder for anyone else. Teachers adore them. Relatives talk about them with pride. Parents feel relieved around them. They say things like, "You're so grown up for your age," or "You're so responsible," or "I don't have to worry about you." And every time they say that, they think they're offering praise. They don't realize they're offering permission. Permission for the child to carry more. Permission to expect less care, less protection, less softness. It doesn't begin with a decision. No child wakes up one morning and chooses to grow up early. It begins quietly, almost invisibly, with small responsibilities that don't seem dangerous at first. Watching younger siblings, keeping secrets that feel too heavy, being careful with words, reading the room before speaking, learning when to disappear emotionally so others can breathe easier. You listen instead of talking. You help instead of playing. You tell yourself you'll play later, you'll rest later, you'll be a child later. But later never really comes. You become very good at noticing things other children don't see. Tone changes, silence, tension in the air. You learn to adjust yourself before anyone asks. You learn how to prevent problems before they happen. And slowly, without anyone saying it out loud, your role changes. You are no longer just a child. You are support. You are stability. You are the one who holds things together. And when you succeed at that, when nothing falls apart, everyone is pleased, which teaches you something dangerous, that your value comes from being useful, from being low maintenance, from not needing too much. Adults call this maturity. They say you're wise beyond your years. But what it really is adaptation. It's a child learning that having needs makes adults uncomfortable, that asking for help creates tension, that crying takes up space. So you stop. You stop asking. You stop needing. You stop expressing disappointment. You swallow fear before it reaches your mouth. You tell yourself it's fine. You tell yourself you're fine. And eventually, you don't even notice you're doing it anymore. It becomes who you are. Your emotions don't disappear. They don't vanish. They simply go underground. They wait. They store themselves in your body, in your nervous system, in the way your shoulders never fully relax, in the way you're always alert even when nothing is wrong, in the way you feel responsible for moods that aren't yours, in the way rest feels unfamiliar. The cost doesn't show up right away. It shows up years later. When you're an adult and you don't know how to stop, when you can handle crisis after crisis but struggle with stillness, when joy feels fragile, temporary, almost suspicious, but exhaustion feels permanent. You sleep, but you're still tired. You take breaks, but they don't restore you, because your tiredness isn't physical, it's emotional. It's the tiredness of someone who has been on duty for too long. You're strong. Everyone still says that. You're capable. You're reliable. You're the one people lean on. But inside, you feel worn down in a way you can't explain. You don't know how to be careless without guilt. You don't know how to rest without feeling like you're doing something wrong. Because you were never taught that rest was allowed, only earned, and even then, only briefly. People talk about childhood like it's optional, like something you can skip and return to later, like you can make up for it with hobbies, vacations, or freedom as an adult. But you can't. Childhood is the one phase of life where you're allowed to exist without earning your place, where you're allowed to be messy, loud, dependent, unfinished, And when that is taken from you, something irreplaceable is lost. You can grow, you can heal, but you can't recreate the version of yourself that didn't have to be strong. That version of you was quietly sacrificed so others could feel more comfortable, so things could run smoother, so no one had to worry too much, and no one meant to do it. That's the hardest part. There was no villain, no dramatic moment, just a child adapting too well to an environment that asked too much. Here's the truth no one says out loud. Growing up early doesn't create strength. It creates survival skills. And survival skills are incredible when you need them. They keep you alive. They keep you functioning. But they are not the same as a full life. You didn't grow up early because you were special. You grew up early because you had to, because someone else couldn't. And that was never a compliment. One day, often much later, you notice something unsettling. You're doing well on the outside, but on the inside, something feels empty. You're productive, but not fulfilled. You're functional, but not light. And you find yourself wondering, maybe for the first time, who would I have been if I hadn't needed to be strong so soon? It's a painful question, but it's also an honest one. And honesty is where healing begins. If this story feels familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. There was nothing wrong with you. You didn't miss childhood because you failed. You missed it because you were protecting yourself the only way you knew how. That strength was intelligent. It was necessary, but it doesn't have to define the rest of your life. Even now, you're allowed to rest. You're allowed to need. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be unfinished. You don't have to earn softness anymore. You don't have to carry everything alone. Strength kept you alive, but you are allowed to choose something gentler now. This story is for the children who were never allowed to be children, and for the adults who are slowly, carefully, learning that they don't have to carry everything anymore. If this story spoke to you, leave a comment below. You don't have to explain everything. Even a single word is enough. And if you want more stories like this, follow the channel.